Every family has its secrets, but what happens when those secrets aren't whispered scandals but a cold, hard truth that you're no longer welcome in the home you grew up in? I'm Kelly Marie Simmons, 27, the younger daughter of a tech empire family in Tucson, Arizona. Imagine sitting at a polished dining table surrounded by crystal and silver, expecting a celebration only to hear your parents declare the family home now belongs to your sister, then order you to pack your bags and leave. That moment doesn't just break your heart, it shatters the illusion of family. It's not just about betrayal or rebellion. It's about hearing words no daughter expects, words that strip away your place in the world you thought was yours. This is my story of being cast out of fighting to reclaim what was stolen, and of learning that losing a house might be the key to finding a home. When loyalty to your own truth clashes with the family name, what do you choose? For me, that choice changed everything. If this hits you, smash that subscribe button and give a thumbs up now. Let's dive into the story. My name is Kelly Simmons, and for 27 years, I've been the odd piece in a family puzzle that demanded perfection. In Tucson, Arizona, our family name meant power. Simmons Tech Solutions, a cybersecurity empire my father built from a garage startup into a billion-dollar machine. To the world, we were untouchable. A sleek mansion in the Catalina foothills, charity galas splashed across local headlines, and a reputation polished brighter than the desert sun. But inside those walls, every smile was calculated, every choice a contract. My father ran our home like he ran his boardroom. Control was non-negotiable. I never fit their mold. My sister Amanda K. Russell did. At 32, she was the golden child vice president at Simmons Tech, her every move a mirror of father's ambition. Her sharp suits and sharper smiles were assets, her engagement to a venture capitalist, a strategic alliance. Amanda played the game flawlessly, her life, a press release for the family brand. Me, I was the glitch. I chose to teach art to kids in underfunded schools, guiding their small hands to paint dreams on canvas instead of code on screens. To my parents, it wasn't a career, it was an embarrassment. Father's voice would tighten when he spoke to me, each word heavy with unspoken demands. Kelly, Simmons Tech needs you. Marketing, PR, something respectable. I'd nod, swallow my truth, and keep teaching. My mother's disapproval was quieter but sharper, her sighs slicing through me at every family gathering. Art is a hobby, dear, not a legacy, she'd say, her eyes flicking to Amanda as if she were the only daughter who mattered. I thought I could endure it, prove my worth through my work. I was wrong. The tension had been building for months, like a storm gathering over the Rincon Mountains. It wasn't just about my job. It was about what I represented, a crack in their perfect facade. Simmons Tech was celebrating its 25th anniversary, a milestone that demanded a spectacle. The boardroom buzzed with plans for a gala, a glittering event to showcase the company's dominance and the family's unity. Invitations went out to investors, tech moguls, even the mayor. The guest list was a chessboard, every name a move to secure deals or silence competitors. My role: smile, nod, and play the dutiful daughter. I dreaded it. Not because of the cameras or the crowd, but because I knew the truth would surface. My parents had been dropping hints, meetings I wasn't invited to, whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Amanda's smug glances told me she was in on something I wasn't. I tried to ignore it, focus on my kids' murals, their bright laughter, a shield against the pressure at home. But the weight of their expectations pressed harder each day, a vice tightening around my chest. The night before the gala, I stood in my apartment, a small, cluttered space in Midtown Tucson filled with paint-splattered easels and secondhand furniture. It was nothing like the mansion with its marble floors and custom chandeliers, but it was mine. I'd rented it with my teacher's salary, every dollar a quiet rebellion. I pulled on a black dress, simple but elegant, one my mother might not scowl at. Around my neck, I clasped a silver pendant from my grandmother, Margaret Ann Wells, the only person who'd ever seen my art as more than a phase. Her gift felt like armor. I drove to the mansion, the desert sky bruising purple above me. The house loomed, its glass walls reflecting wealth and secrets. Inside, our butler, Henry Joseph Miller, greeted me with a nod, his eyes kind but tired after decades of service. "Good to see you, Miss Kelly," he said softly, the only warmth in that cold space. I stepped into the foyer where preparations for the gala were in full swing. Staff bustled, arranging flowers, polishing silver. My mother directed them with the precision of a general, her voice clipped. "Everything must be flawless," she said, not looking at me. Amanda was there, radiant in a tailored gown, her fiancé at her side. He was a tech investor, his smile as calculated as hers. They were the image of success, the future of Simmons Tech. I felt like an outsider in my own home, my presence a footnote in their script. Father emerged from his study, his suit pristine, his watch glinting under the lights. "Kelly," he said, his tone flat. "You're here. Good. We need to present a united front tomorrow." His words weren't a request, they were an order. I forced a smile. "I'll be there, Father." But his eyes lingered, heavy with something unsaid. I knew that look. It was the same one he'd given me when I told him I'd rather teach than join the company. Disappointment, yes, but something darker, control slipping through his fingers. Mother approached, her perfume sharp. "Try to look presentable, Kelly," she said, her gaze flicking to my dress. "This isn't one of your art classes." Her words stung, but I bit back a response. Dinner that night was a rehearsal, a dry run for the gala. We sat at the dining table, a slab of glass that felt more like a stage. Amanda talked strategy, new contracts, investor meetings. Her voice, confident, her eyes on Father. He nodded, proud. Mother chimed in, planning the gala's seating chart like a diplomat. I sat quietly, my fork heavy in my hand, the food tasteless. Every word they spoke was a reminder I didn't belong. Not unless I became what they wanted. As the meal ended, Father leaned back, his gaze locking onto me. "Kelly, tomorrow is important. Simmons Tech is more than a company. It's our legacy. You need to decide where you stand." His voice was calm, but it carried a warning. Amanda smirked, her eyes glinting with triumph. Mother sipped her wine, her silence louder than words. I felt the walls closing in the air, thick with their expectations. I stood my chair, scraping softly. "I know where I stand," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. "I'm not here to play a role." Father's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Amanda's smirk faltered just for a second. I left the table, Henry's quiet gaze following me as I walked out. Tomorrow, I knew, would be worse. The gala wasn't just a celebration, it was a reckoning. And I was walking into it with no idea how it would shatter my world. The night of Simmons Tech's 25th anniversary gala arrived like a storm I couldn't outrun. I stood outside the mansion, the desert air sharp against my skin, my black dress clinging to me as I gripped my grandmother's silver pendant. The house glowed, its glass walls pulsing with light from chandeliers I'd never cared for. Inside, Tucson's elite mingled tech moguls, investors, city officials, all drawn to the Simmons name like moths to a flame. I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and stepped into the fray. The ballroom was a spectacle, every detail curated to scream success. Waiters wove through the crowd, trays heavy with champagne flutes. Amanda stood near the stage, her gown catching every eye, her fiancé at her side, like a prop in her perfect narrative. Father commanded the room, shaking hands, his laughter loud but hollow. Mother glided among guests, her smile a mask, her voice directing staff with surgical precision. I lingered near the edge, my presence barely noticed, a shadow in their spotlight. Henry caught my eye, his face tight as he poured wine at a nearby table. "You're doing fine, Miss Kelly," he whispered, his voice a small anchor in the chaos. I nodded, but my stomach twisted. The air felt heavy like the moment before lightning strikes. I sipped water, avoiding the champagne, my nerves too raw for anything else. The speeches began. Father took the stage, his voice booming through the room. 25 years ago, Simmons Tech was a dream. Tonight, we celebrate a legacy. The crowd clapped their applause, a wave of approval. He spoke of innovation, growth, the future. Then he paused, his eyes finding Amanda. And none of this would be possible without family, he said, gesturing to her. My daughter Amanda, our vice president, the heart of our company's future. The room erupted again. Amanda stepped forward, her smile radiant, accepting a plaque from Father. I clapped to my hands, mechanical, my chest tight. I wanted to be happy for her, but her triumph felt like my erasure. Mother joined them, her arm around Amanda, the picture of unity. I stood alone, my water glass cold in my hand. Then Father's gaze shifted to me. The room didn't notice, but I felt it, a spotlight of judgment. Family is about loyalty, he said, his voice carrying an edge. It's about standing together, building something greater than yourself. The words weren't for the crowd. They were for me. A warning. I met his stare, my jaw set, refusing to look away. Dinner followed, the crowd settling at round tables draped in white linen. I sat at the family table, positioned like an afterthought between Amanda's fiancé and an investor who barely acknowledged me. The first course arrived, seared scallops too rich for my taste. Amanda leaned toward Father, whispering about a new contract. Mother nodded, her eyes scanning the room, ensuring every guest was impressed. I pushed my food around, the weight of their silence louder than the clinking glasses. Then it happened. Father stood, tapping his glass, drawing every eye. Tonight isn't just about Simmons Tech, he said, his voice smooth but commanding. It's about our family's future. Our home, this house, has been the heart of our legacy. And tonight, I'm proud to announce it will be transferred to Amanda, who has proven her commitment to our vision. The room applauded, but the sound faded in my ears. My fork froze midair. Amanda's smile widened, her eyes flicking to me with a glint of victory. Mother nodded, her expression serene, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. I waited, expecting Father to say something about me, a mention, a nod, anything. But his gaze skipped over me, landing on the crowd instead. I couldn't breathe. The house, the place I'd called home for 27 years, was no longer mine. Not a discussion, not a warning, just a declaration. My hands trembled, but I forced them still. Father, I said, my voice cutting through the applause, louder than I intended. Heads turned. What about me? The room stilled. Father's face hardened, his eyes narrowing. Kelly, this isn't the time. His tone was ice, a warning to back down. But I couldn't. Not now. When is the time? I pressed, standing my chair scraping against the floor. You're giving away our home? My home, without even talking to me. Mother's smile didn't waver, but her eyes were daggers. Kelly, don't make a scene. Her voice was low, venomous. Amanda leaned back, her smirk barely hidden. The crowd shifted, whispers rippling through the tables. I felt their stares, but I didn't care. Something inside me snapped, a dam breaking after years of holding back. I've done nothing but try to make you proud, I said, my voice shaking but clear. I teach kids who have nothing, give them hope through art. That's not enough for you. You're taking my home because I won't sell my soul to your company. Father's face flushed red, his control slipping. You've made your choice, Kelly, he said, his voice loud enough for the room to hear. You chose your little art classes over this family. You don't belong here anymore. The words landed like a slap. The crowd gasped, some turning away, others leaning in, hungry for the drama. Mother stood, her hand on Father's arm, but her voice was sharp. You're embarrassing us, Kelly. If you can't support our vision, you're not part of this family. Amanda said nothing, her silence a blade of its own. I looked at her, hoping for a flicker of empathy, but her eyes were cold, her loyalty firmly with them. Get out, Father said, his voice low, final. Pack your things and leave tonight. You're done here. The room was a blur now, faces blending into a haze of shock and pity. Henry stepped forward, his expression heavy with sorrow. "Miss Kelly," he whispered, his hand hovering near my arm. "Let me walk you out." I didn't move at first. My pendant burned against my skin, a reminder of my grandmother's belief in me. "You're wrong," I said, my voice steady, now aimed at Father. "I'm not the one who's failed this family. You have." I turned my steps, deliberate, the crowd parting as I walked toward the door. Henry followed, his presence the only kindness in that moment. Outside, the desert night was cool, the stars sharp above the mansion. Henry handed me my keys, his voice barely audible. "I'm so sorry, Miss Kelly." I nodded, unable to speak, the weight of their words crushing me. The door closed behind me, the lock clicking with finality. My home was gone. My family was gone. And as I stood there alone, I realized the fight was just beginning. The days after the gala felt like falling through a void. My apartment in Midtown Tucson, small, cluttered with paint cans and secondhand furniture, became a lifeline, but it wasn't enough. The landlord's email loomed: 30 days to vacate or pay upfront. My bank account read 0 credit cards, dead savings, $15,000 from years of scraping by gone. Father's reach was long, his punishment swift. I stared at my phone, Mother's text glowing. "Darling, let's resolve this." I didn't reply. Her words felt like a trap, not an olive branch. Kristen Lynn Parker's couch became my refuge. Her place in South Tucson buzzed with life dishes, clinking roommates joking over burnt toast. "Stay as long as you need," Kristen said, her voice firm. No pity. She'd clawed through life herself, daughter of a mechanic and a teacher, no silver spoons. I tried to protest. "I've got nothing to give back right now." She waved me off. "You'll pay me in coffee when you're on your feet." Her roommates nodded, piling plates with pasta, their laughter a stark contrast to the silence of my family's mansion. I sold what I could. My car went online for a quick $5,000 cash in crumpled bills. The pawn shop took my grandmother's pendant, offering $800, a fraction of its worth. 90 days to reclaim it, the clerk said. I clutched the receipt, a fragile promise. Groceries became rice and beans, no more imported olives. Libraries offered free Wi-Fi, my new office. I scoured job boards, but my art center position, $40,000 a year, wouldn't start for 2 weeks. Temp jobs barely covered gas. Every rejection stung, friends from school dodging my calls with polite excuses. "Wish I could help Kelly," they'd say, their voices fading. Nights were brutal. I'd curl up on Kristen's couch, grief swallowing me. I'd spent years trying to prove myself to Father, to Mother, even to Amanda, my sister, who saw me as a flaw in their perfect plan. But losing them wasn't just losing family, it was losing the ground beneath me. Yet in that darkness, something stirred, a stubborn spark. Kristen saw it. "You're tougher than they think," she said one morning, handing me coffee. I wanted to believe her. Then came Robert James Carter's email. I met him at the coffee shop near the university, my nerves frayed. His suit was creased, his eyes heavy with something unspoken. "Kelly, it's about your grandmother, Margaret Ann Wells," he said, voice low. "Her trust." I frowned. "Father said mine paid for school." Robert shook his head. "Yours was separate, accessible at 28 or after your master's in art education. You finished it." My breath caught. How much? $2 million invested, growing. The number hit like a punch. They hit it. He nodded. Borrowed against it for Simmons Tech, against her terms. Betrayal burned hotter than anger. Grandma Margaret had seen me, her gift was my freedom, and they'd stolen it, chaining me with their control while pretending generosity. "That's fraud," I said, voice trembling. Robert leaned closer. "If you hire a lawyer, you'll win." I can't stay silent anymore. I left the shop, dazed, the desert heat pressing against me. $2 million. Not just money, a lifeline Grandma Margaret crafted, knowing my family's grip. I called Kristen, spilling everything. "They lied to me, Chris. All this time." She was quiet, then fierce. You need someone in your corner. I know a lawyer sharp, no nonsense. That's how I met Patricia Ann Sullivan, a trust attorney with a reputation for cutting through corporate games. We met at her office, a modest space downtown, papers stacked high. Robert's right, Patricia said, scanning documents I'd forwarded from him. Your parents breached fiduciary duty. We can demand the trust's release immediately. I nodded, heart racing. What's next? We set a meeting, she said. They'll push back, but you hold the cards. Your grandmother's terms are ironclad. Her confidence steadied me, a shield against the panic. I spent days preparing, poring over emails from Robert, learning the trust's details. Grandma Margaret had stipulated no borrowing, no collateral. Her money was for my independence, not Simmons Tech's empire. Father and Mother had gambled, assuming I'd never know. Their texts kept coming. Mother, Kelly, come home. We can fix this. Father, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Amanda even called, her voice clipped. You're blowing this out of proportion, Kelly. Just sign what we offer, and it's done. I hung up, her words echoing her smugness from the gala. They weren't pleading, they were strategizing. Patricia saw it too. They're scared, she said. They know you can expose them. I moved to Kristen's permanently, my apartment lease ending. Boxes of my life, sketchbooks, clothes, a few brushes stacked in her spare corner. Her roommates didn't blink, offering me their Wi-Fi password and takeout leftovers. You're one of us now, one said, grinning. It wasn't the mansion's marble, but it was warmth, unscripted. I started teaching art workshops on weekends, small gigs at community centers. Kids' laughter as they painted murals filled gaps my family left. I lived on instant noodles, but each smile from those kids felt like a victory. One evening, Matthew David Brooks, a music teacher I'd met at a workshop, stopped by Kristen's. Heard you're in a rough spot, he said, handing me a coffee. His eyes were kind, no judgment. Anything I can do, I shook my head, but his presence lingered steady. Just keep teaching, he said. Those kids need you. His words hit deeper than he knew. For the first time, someone saw my work, not my name, as enough. The meeting with my parents was set for Monday at Robert's office. Patricia prepped me like a coach. They'll try charm, guilt, threats, she warned. Stay focused. This is your trust, not their leverage. I nodded, clutching a folder of documents, proof of their theft. The weekend before, I sat with Kristen, mapping my next steps. What if they fight dirty? I asked. She smirked. They're already dirty. You're just playing smarter. Sunday night, I walked Tucson streets, the city alive with neon and chatter. I passed a mural my students had painted, bright swirls of color on a community wall. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, real. I touched the pendant's receipt in my pocket, a reminder of Grandma Margaret's faith. She'd known my family's shadow built me a way out. Now I was ready to step into it. Father called as I walked. Kelly, reconsider. We're family. His voice was smooth, rehearsed. I didn't answer. Mother texted again. Don't throw everything away. I deleted it. Their words didn't hold me anymore. Patricia was right, I held the cards. The meeting loomed not as a trap, but a battlefield. I wasn't the daughter begging for approval. I was Kelly Simmons, ready to fight for what was mine. Walking out of that office, my heart pounded with a strange calm. I'd faced Father's rage, Mother's icy silence, and Amanda's conflicted gaze, but for the first time I wasn't begging. The trust, $2 million, grandmother's lifeline, was mine to claim. Patricia's voice echoed as we left the glass tower. We've got them cornered. Back at Kristen's apartment, I paced, adrenaline still high. They'll try something, I told her, gripping my coffee mug. She nodded. No nonsense. Let them. You've got the truth. Her roommates chimed in, their support a shield. That night, I barely slept, replaying Father's threat, one call to end my career. But I wasn't backing down. The legal process moved fast. Patricia filed motions with precision, demanding immediate trust transfer. Emails pinged daily updates, counters delays from father's team. Robert stayed neutral, his loyalty to grandmother's terms outweighing father's pressure. A week later, a new document landed Simmons Tech's proposal to share the trust, offering me a yearly allowance while they retained control. Patricia laughed sharp and short. "They're desperate." I tore it up. "No more strings." She nodded, filing for court if they didn't comply by week's end. They didn't. Father's lawyer sent a letter, vague threats about my future prospects. Patricia wasn't fazed. Scare tactics. "We're ready." We prepared evidence records of unauthorized loans against my trust, each one a violation of grandmother's explicit terms. The numbers were stark, hundreds of thousands diverted to prop up Simmons Tech's expansions. My parents hadn't just hidden my inheritance, they'd gambled with it. The betrayal burned deeper than the gala's rejection. Court loomed, but on the final day, Father caved. Patricia called me, voice steady. "It's done. Full transfer, no conditions." I sat on Kristen's couch staring at the confirmation email, $2 million now in my name. The weight of it didn't feel real. For years, I'd lived on a teacher's salary, scraping by, believing every dollar was theirs to revoke. Now I held freedom. "What now?" I asked Patricia. "Live," she said simply, "but smart. Don't let it define you." I took her advice, moving deliberately. I stayed at Kristen's a few extra weeks, even with funds secure. Her place, creaky, cluttered, alive, had been my refuge. Her roommates waved off repayment. "Your family now," one said, passing me a plate of tacos. Their warmth grounded me, but I needed my own space. I found a one-bedroom in East Tucson, a vibrant neighborhood with murals on every corner. It was small, barely bigger than my old apartment, but I bought it outright with a fraction of the trust. No landlord could threaten me again. Moving day was quiet. I stood in the empty living room, sunlight spilling across worn floors. No crystal, no curated art, just mine. The pendant, reclaimed from the pawn shop, hung warm against my chest. I cried, not from loss, but from release. The woman who'd begged for a place at the Simmons table was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone who chose herself. Work became my anchor. My role at the Tucson Art Center started, and I threw myself in. The salary, $40,000 a year, was modest against the trust, but I lived on it. The trust was for purpose, not flash, just as grandmother intended. My classes were raw, real. A girl escaping abuse painted her anger in bold reds, finding strength. A boy facing eviction drew houses he'd never leave. An immigrant teen lost in paperwork sketched a future in vibrant blues. Each canvas was a story, a fight, a life my family's empire ignored. I remembered their gala champagne toasts to charity, followed by private sneers. The irony fueled me. Every lesson I taught, every kid I helped, was a middle finger to their legacy of profit over people. My team pushed boundaries, securing grants to bring art to more schools. One project, a mural for displaced families, caught local attention. A reporter from the Tucson Citizen interviewed me, her questions gentle. "Why art?" she asked. "Because it gives voice to those who've been silenced," I said. The piece ran small, page 5, but it rippled. Schools called, donors reached out. That ripple grew into the Wells Art Fellowship, an idea born from grandmother's pendant. With Patricia's help, I set up a scholarship for art students with no safety net, kids like me told their passion was less than. The trust funded it, invested to grow, offering $10,000 a year to recipients. Applications flooded in, stories of night jobs, foster care, dreams bigger than their circumstances. The first award went to a girl who'd worked 2 jobs through college, now free to intern at a gallery instead of a diner. Handing her the check, I choked up. "This is for you," I said. She hugged me, whispering, "You saved my future." Nights were still hard. Alone, I'd trace the pendant's edges, grief sneaking in. I'd loved my parents, tried to fit their mold. Their rejection cut bone deep, not just financial, but community filled the gaps. I joined a local garden hands dirty with purpose. Potlucks with Kristen and her crew became routine, loud, messy, real. Matthew David Brooks, a social worker I'd met at one, started showing up regularly. "Your work's changing lives," he said over shared chili, his eyes kind, no agenda. His words landed differently, no judgment, just truth. Amanda reached out again, her voice softer now. We met at a dive bar, her designer jacket out of place among worn booths. "Father's losing it," she said, sipping a soda. "Investors are pulling back. He blames your trust." I shrugged. "Not my fault he mismanaged." Her eyes flickered envy, maybe respect. "He points to your empty chair at dinners, says, 'It's what happens when you defy him.'" The image stung, but I saw it for what it was. Control, not love. "You could walk away too," I told her. She shook her head. "Not yet. My trust comes at 30. I'm stuck." I leaned in. "When it comes, protect it. Patricia can help." She nodded, fear and fire mixing in her gaze. Months passed and my life took shape. The fellowship grew, 3 more recipients, each story a spark. A local judge impressed by our mural donated. A gallery owner matched it. Even tech firms like the ones father worked with sent quiet contributions. The irony wasn't lost on me. Those who'd scoffed now backed my path. My apartment became home, not just shelter. I hung student art on the walls, each piece a reminder of why I fought. Dinners with Kristen, Matthew, and neighbors filled it with laughter, plates clinking over stories. One night, Matthew walked me home, Tucson stars bright above. "You're building something real," he said, his hand brushing mine. I let it linger. No pressure, just presence. Mother's old warnings, choose who reflects the family, faded. My family was here in these moments, unconditional. The ache of rejection lingered, but it no longer ruled me. Grandmother's trust wasn't just money, it was permission to live free. Then came an unexpected letter, Simmons Tech's annual report sent to me by mistake. Profits down, layoffs looming. Amanda confirmed it at our next coffee. "Father's unraveling," she whispered. "He's aged overnight, blaming you." Guilt flickered, but I pushed it back. "He chose greed over integrity." She nodded, her hands trembling. "I'm sketching again, Kelly. Secretly. It feels like breathing." I squeezed her arm. "Keep going. You'll find your way out." The report wasn't the only surprise. An invitation arrived for a community arts gala, naming me a guest speaker. Not as a Simmons, but as Kelly Simmons Teacher Advocate Fellowship founder. My parents would be there, galas were their stage. I hesitated, then accepted. The night was approaching, a collision of worlds. But I wasn't the daughter they'd cast out. I was someone new, standing tall on my own terms. The arts gala loomed, a collision I couldn't avoid. I stepped into the Tucson Cultural Center, the pendant warm against my neck. My black gown simple but sharp. The ballroom sparkled, chandeliers casting soft light, violins humming, tables draped in silver and white. My nerves tightened, echoes of Simmons Tech galas where I'd been weighed and found wanting. But tonight I was Kelly Simmons Teacher Advocate, not their daughter. A young artist approached, eyes bright. "Your mural project changed our program. We're teaching kids now because of you." Her words steadied me, pride swelling, real, not tied to a family name. Then I felt them. That familiar weight in the air. I turned, and there they were. Father in a tailored tuxedo, his face carved with tension. Mother in emerald silk pearls gleaming like a shield. Kelly Mother said, her voice honeyed, leaning for an air kiss that stopped short. "You look well." Father nodded stiffly. "Heard about your work?" I forced a smile. "Thank you." The artist slipped away, sensing the shift. We stood a frozen moment among the glittering crowd. "Your exhibit made waves," Father said, his tone clipped but civil. "But you're stirring trouble in our circles. Tech investors talk." I didn't flinch. "I'm helping kids find their voice. That's my circle." Mother's smile tightened. You could do so much more with us. Before I could respond, a gallery owner interrupted, beaming. Ms. Simmons, your fellowship's inspiring. We're funding a similar grant because of you. Her praise landed sharp in front of them, their faces flickering, father's jaw tight, mother's eyes brittle. My worth, once theirs to measure, now stood beyond their grasp. Mother touched father's arm. We should mingle. But he paused, voice low. Business is tight, Kelly. Your trust's absence hit hard. We need you. The admission stunned me, his closest to vulnerability. I'm sorry for your struggles, Thomas. I said the name, deliberate, leveling us. But my trust was grandmother's gift to me, not Simmons Tech. His eyes flashed, but Mother pulled him away, their figures swallowed by the crowd. I exhaled free. They didn't own me anymore. Their approval wasn't my survival. Back at my apartment, life felt fuller. The Wells Art Fellowship grew, applications doubling. Stories poured in, students balancing night shifts, single parents chasing art degrees, survivors turning pain into color. I awarded a second-round 5 scholarships, each $10,000. One went to a boy who'd lived in his car, now painting murals for shelters. Handing him the check, I fought tears. You're giving me a future, he said. I thought of grandmother, her pendant a quiet guide. She'd freed me to free others. Work consumed my days. The mural project expanded to 10 schools, grants pouring in. Colleagues called me the spark, a title that felt more real than any Simmons accolade. The Tucson Citizen ran another piece, this time front page. Local teacher transforms lives through art, it read. I spoke plainly. I walked away from wealth to build meaning. Invitations followed, panels, workshops, community talks. My name rang in studios and classrooms, not corporate boardrooms. Amanda's calls became regular, her voice softer each time. At a coffee shop, she sat across from me. No designer labels, just jeans. Father's crumbling, she said, stirring her latte. Layoffs hit. He still blames you. I shook my head. His choices, not mine. Her eyes held something new, admiration maybe. I'm painting more. My trust comes soon. I'm meeting Patricia to lock it down. I smiled. Good. Don't let him touch it. She squeezed my hand. You showed me it's possible. I saw her spark, the one grandmother had seen in me. She wasn't free yet, but she was close. My apartment became a haven. Plants spilled over sills, student art lined walls, each piece a story of resilience. Dinners with Kristen, Matthew, and neighbors filled it with noise, pasta bowls, cheap wine, laughter that drowned out old wounds. Matthew stayed late one night washing dishes beside me. You're not just surviving, he said. You're thriving. His hand lingered on mine, no pressure, just truth. I let it stay. Mother's voice, choose who reflects. The family had no power here. My family was this, built on presence, not conditions. Christmas brought another invitation, Simmons holiday brunch, their crest embossed. I laughed, tossing it aside. Kristen raised an eyebrow. Going? No, I said. It's a stage, not a home. Instead, I spent the day at a community center serving meals with Matthew. Families shared stories, their warmth real. Over lemonade, Kristen toasted to chosen families. Glasses clinked louder than any chandelier's chime. That was love. But fate pushed one last clash. At a winter market, I bumped into them, father and mother bundled in coats, out of place among vegetable stalls. Kelly, mother said, her smile strained. Unexpected. I adjusted my scarf. I live here. Father cleared his throat. Business is rough. We could use you back. His voice cracked a rare fracture. I shook my head. You never wanted me, just my trust. Mother's eyes glistened, not quite tears. We're still family. I stepped back. Family doesn't disown. I've built mine. You're not in it. I walked away, pendant catching the winter light. The ache of their rejection didn't vanish, but it no longer chained me. A year since that gala, since I stood outside a locked mansion key, useless, heartbroken, my life was unrecognizable. My apartment glowed with life, not wealth. My work reshaped futures, not profits. The fellowship carried grandmother's vision forward, freeing others as she'd freed me. On the anniversary of that night, I hosted a dinner. Mismatched chairs crowded my table, Kristen with wine, Matthew with his slightly burnt roast, neighbors with casseroles. Amanda came, her sketchbook tucked close, no trace of Simmons polish. We ate, laughed, sang off-key. I stood, glass-raised voice steady. A year ago, I thought I'd lost everything. Now I see I gained more. I lost parents who saw me as failure but found family who see me as I am. I lost a house but gained a home, doors wide open. I lost a name but found my truth. The room cheered, faces bright with love I'd once chased. Later, alone with Matthew, city lights twinkling outside, I touched the pendant. "Thank you, Grandma Margaret," I whispered. Her gift wasn't just money, it was freedom, a legacy rippling outward. My story isn't about losing a family, it's about finding one. If there's one lesson from this, it's this: your worth isn't tied to those who share your blood, but to those who see your heart. Don't let family or anyone define you. It hurts to walk away, but the freedom on the other side is brighter, fuller than you can imagine. If they shut you out, build your own door. That's where you belong. I'm Kelly Simmons, and I'm enough. Thanks for hearing my story. Hit like, subscribe, share with someone who needs it. Where are you watching from? Tell me below.